My name is Carolyn Adams Hanchett. Even though my conclusion flies in the face of biblical scholars and theologians, of which I am neither, I have been blessed with a talent for research and a gift of discernment, and a commitment to not give up on bringing these things to light despite opposition from the adversary. It is my hope that the information I share will at least inspire one's own research for the truths of these prophecies, for God has revealed them for a reason. Chapter 7 recorded the general history from the time Nebuchadnezzar took the Jews into captivity until the Son of Man's return to the earth. Chapter 8 reveals more detail about the second, Persian, and the third Greek kingdoms, not a revived Roman Empire, and especially how they relate to Israel. During the reign of the Babylonian king Belshazzar in 553 BC, Daniel sees a ram representing Media and Persia, conquering other nations until they became great. In verse 5, he sees a goat come from the west who had a notable horn between his eyes, which destroyed the ram. That the goat is the Greek leader Alexander the Great and not some future U.S. or European leader, I believe is evidenced by the following. To begin with, because Alexander didn't come on the scene until over 200 years after Belshazzar, is one reason it is believed that Daniel 8 must be a last-day prophecy. However, God's intention is only to identify those kingdoms that lead up to the final beast kingdom and the real Antichrist, not a chronological order. Daniel 8:8 states, "Therefore the goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones towards the four winds of heaven." This fits the historical account of Alexander the Great. At the age of 30, he had created one of the largest empires in history, stretching from Greece to northwestern India. He was undefeated in battle and is widely considered to be one of history's greatest and most successful military commanders. However, Alexander's rule did not last long, as verse 8 and history indicates. Verse 22 states, "Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power." Even though they were notable horns, these four kingdoms or provinces were greatly inferior to him in power, strength, grandeur, and magnificence. History further agrees with the biblical narration that the four horns are represented by the above four provinces, Seleucid being governed by Seleucus IV. However, he was murdered by his chief magistrate, and upon hearing the news, Antiochus IV gained the throne of the Seleucid Empire with help of King Eumenes II of Pergamon, which I find telling since Pergamon is the dwelling place of Satan, which I explained later. Verse 9, "Out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great towards the south and towards the east and towards the pleasant land." Historical accounts reveal Antiochus did conquer Egypt to the south, although it was short-lived, as explained later, and the Parthian Empire to the east. He also conquered the pleasant land, Jerusalem. This cannot be a reference to the last days, as no nation will again conquer the pleasant land. Other factors conclude the little horn could not be a leader of the EU either. In 171 BC, Antiochus IV declared war against Ptolemy Philometor. In the year 170, he conquered Egypt and plundered Jerusalem. He also, as noted in 1 Maccabees, now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt. Wherefore he entered Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy. It also states that Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled. Thus Antiochus got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And towards the east, towards Persia and the countries of the east, he went there. According to the author of the book of Maccabees, his purpose was to replenish his exhausted treasury, that he might carry on his wars with the Jews. Speaking of the little horn, Daniel 8:10 states, "It waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them." Since no earthly being can cast down the stars of the host of heavens, the stars in Daniel 8:10 are intended to symbolize the faithful Israelites. As to the host, the Jewish word for host refers to armies. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down. It is believed by some that the prince of the host is a reference to Christ, but if it were, it would have been capitalized. So I believe, as many Jewish scholars do, that the prince of hosts is a reference to the archangel Michael, who had been connected to concepts related to spiritual warfare that could be analogous to sacrifices, which lends a greater significance to Antiochus taking away the daily sacrifice. Verse 13 states, "Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint unto the certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgressions of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed." Many believe this prophecy refers to the time leading up to Christ's second coming, because 2,300 days does not fit the time of Antiochus' rule. However, if you consider that the phrase evenings and mornings is a Hebrew idiom referring to the twice daily sacrifice, one offered in the morning and one in the evening, it cuts the total number of days to 1,150, which corresponds from Antiochus setting up the altar of Zeus in the temple to when Judas Maccabeus rededicated it. Verse 23, "And in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, or one who is shameless and has no reluctance in pursuing the cruelties which he has designed." This description aptly fits Antiochus, the foreshadowed Antichrist, especially considering that John saw, as noted in Revelations 24, the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast. The only nation who beheads their victims for religious reasons are Islamic. I believe it is a stretch that any modern-day soldier from the U.S. or Europe would engage in such a practice. Verse 24, "And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper, and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people." The fact that this little horn shall destroy a mighty and holy people, to me, is further evidence that Daniel 8 is about Antiochus and is historical, and not a last-day prophecy, as Israel, even though mighty, is no longer a holy people. Only 12% adhere to Jewish law and traditions, whereas they were at the time that Antiochus conquered them. And now to Pergamon and its relevance. To those in Pergamos or Pergamon Christ wrote, I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. Revelations 2:13. It is telling that Pergamon is in the northwestern part of modern-day Turkey, as well as the other 6 churches established by Jesus through the Apostle John. Since it was also out of northwestern Turkey that the Ottoman Empire arose, in my mind it makes sense that would be the nation of the Antichrist beast kingdom. This replica of the altar of Zeus is in the Pergamon Museum in Turkey. As you will notice in the picture at the right, there are many serpents intertwined among the figures, which to me represents another level of evil. I hope this video helps you to understand why Daniel 8 cannot be a prophecy of a revived Roman Empire and its relevance to our day. Also, I hope you will watch the chapter 11 video, which gives a more detailed account of the atrocities perpetrated by Antiochus against the Jewish people, and why it is important to our understanding this other level of Satan's deception. And know your comments will not only be appreciated, but also acknowledged. As mentioned in the last videos, these last day prophecies are only one leg of the Antichrist deception. The other, the agendas of the New World Order to control our lives and suppress the truths of our divine identity, worth, and cosmic potential, which I have exposed in a novel based on fact entitled The Blog. If interested, check out my website. Thank you for watching, and God bless.